Cardinals Nation 24/7 Productions proudly presents this Facebook Live edition of Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lollis. I'm the moderator and co-host of the show, Jared Redwine. But now for the man of the hour, the host, the founder, Mr. Chris Lollis.
7 people, so why don't you share that out? We'll get started, I guess. If you want to share that link. I guess.
Everyone, thanks for joining us. We're going to get started in just a second. Seems like every time we do this, Facebook changes the way we can do it. So we're just finding out now. So give us 2 seconds. And we're going to get started here.
Yeah,
Chris, by the way, is in his bathroom. He's actually on the toilet.
On the toilet. Yep.
That's where he does his best work, everyone.
Yep. The king on his throne.
Were you able to get it to the page?
Yeah, I shared to the page. It shares from your personal page to the page. So it's not the video. Everybody be like, "Who's this Jared Redwine guy? He must be a pretty big deal."
It's kind of true. I don't know why it's making me even do that. It's stupid.
But yeah, it's on the page, and I guess we're live in the group. So for those joining, hello.
Yeah, everybody, if you got any questions or anything you'd like to see us talk about in regards to Cardinals baseball, feel free to drop us a message or else send it directly on the video you're watching there on Facebook, and we'll do our best to try to see what Chris can do to answer them for us. We're going to pick his beard and see what kind of Cardinals knowledge we can get out of him today. So good luck, and may God be with us all.
Yeah.
But Chris, I want to jump in real quick, even before we start taking questions too. Big news recently for people who aren't aware. Jordan Hicks was going to be out for 4 weeks. Now they're talking a minimum of 6. He's got a new kind of, basically bio injection that's supposed to help the body recover naturally, but no activity for 6 months. So we're looking now after the All-Star break before we even have a chance of seeing Hicks again. What are your quick thoughts on his injury and the severity of it?
It definitely hurts the team because, Hicks looked like he was throwing like the Hicks of old. And, even though we've got Reyes kind of holding down the closer role, it's nice to have that arm that can go 105 mile an hour. So Hicks is going to be missed. We do have plenty of arms that can come up and take a spot, but, that doesn't mean they're going to be throwing the heat that Jordan Hicks would. So hopefully he does have a speedy recovery and all goes well with that recovery.
Yeah, you got to figure too at this point, Reyes has pretty well cemented himself as the closer and seems to be taking to and enjoying that role.
Yeah, he's doing what the team's asked of him. It's not always pretty, but he's getting the job done. I know we've joked before, it's kind of like the Cardinal closers of the past where Rosenthal we would have to take our Xanax when he would come in and close out a game, and Isringhausen was the same way, and Ryan Franklin, the list goes on and on, but he's getting it done. That's what the bottom line boils down to.
Yeah, what are your early thoughts also on the situation with Carlos Martinez? He's either been really hot or he's kind of been shaky, and his last outing, he kind of unraveled quickly there. So it seems like control, maybe a little bit of a head case has been going on. What are your thoughts on him? I know some people have suggested maybe using Kinsner as his permanent, backstop when he's out there pitching. What are your thoughts on Carlos and kind of his whole situation of whether it's feast or famine for him, it seems like?
Yeah, I've always said that he's got that, multi-million-dollar arm but a 10-cent brain where he gets in his own head at times. He does have filthy stuff, and really, with the exception of a few innings, he's been, lights out. I do agree with, Larry's one that really pushes for Kisner to be his personal catcher because he seems like Yachty coddles him a little bit. In my opinion, I don't think it's really that he coddles him. It's just Molina throws a number down, and that's what you're throwing. You're not going to shake Yachty off. With Kisner, he was kind of letting Martinez shake him off a little bit, where he was throwing a little bit more of what he was comfortable with. And, Kisner's caught some decent games so far this year, and it seemed like he was getting the most out of Carlos. So I wouldn't be opposed to that going forward, being when Kisner would get that day.
Yeah. I feel like, it's one of those things. If it's not, broke, don't fix it. It seems like that combination's been working well. And then with Yachty with his foot, we know he's back and he looked well yesterday, obviously for Mother's Day, but we know he's still, nursing that injury a little bit. And it would probably be worthwhile to give him that guaranteed day off too every so many days, just to know he's not going to be pitching, because he's going to be out there for Waino and probably Flaherty, every single time, and handling some of these other guys. But if it works for Martinez and giving Yachty an occasional day off so he can keep up his type of production throughout the whole entire season, it might be worth a longer look, you would think.
Yeah, it's definitely worth, testing that theory out. Molina coming back as quick as he did off the injured list, I was kind of hoping maybe they'd push that back a day just because it was Carlos's turn in the rotation. But then Yachty comes up being Yachty and gets some RBIs and all is forgotten. So,
yeah, it's just amazing what he's been able to do this year, even though we know he's not been 100%. We do have a question from Parker. Parker, the loyal fan, tuning in. Thank you, sir. We do appreciate you. Obviously, he thinks we're going to be buyers at the deadline, which it looks like we're probably going to be. The Cardinals are currently in first place in the National League as of today with the day off. What do you think the Cardinals are going to be in the market for, is Parker's question.
Boy, it's tough. With the current outfield situation where we've got Bader and O'Neill back, and both of them have put together some decent at-bats, I don't know that going out and getting a maybe more proven outfielder is something that the Cardinals would look to do. I think you're pretty well set in the infield on what we have. The Cardinals have kind of always been noted to go out and get that relief pitcher for whatever reason. They go and get, somebody to kind of fill the gaps, but they have so many young arms to choose from. I don't think that makes sense. What I would like to see happen is the rumor that kind of floated around about the Washington Nationals being out of the running and maybe wanting to shop Max Scherzer. If we could get Max, that, coming home being a Missouri boy, I don't know what the cost would be. I would imagine that would probably be a package deal where you could send them a catcher in Kisner. You could throw some prospects, maybe Elaine Thomas or Justin Williams as an outfielder and a couple arms. But to even have Max Scherzer as a rental for the remainder of the season, I think that's a move that would really make the Cardinals a threat in the playoffs, not just getting to the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel like Max is trying to do his best to work his magic to make sure if he is traded, the Nationals get a good haul for him, especially with his last couple outings. He's been pretty well unstoppable, and he's been defying age, and it seems like every time we see Max pitching, he is getting better and better. Him and Waino and Yachty seem to be three players that are defying the laws of baseball physics when it comes to prolonging their careers.
For sure.
Do have a question from Brad. It's for me, though. Brad Kale, Heart City Media. Do you aspire to have a luxurious beard like Lollis? Well, they do have a lot of perks. One, you can snacks, food like chips, crackers, things of that nature for later. I'm not exactly thin anymore, so that would be a plus side, I think. You could help save the birds. It would help for a nice nest, perhaps. There's so many things going through my head right now that are wonderful benefits. But the worst one is that it looks a little warm, and it's hot in Arizona, so I'm already hot anyway, so I don't need any extra help. But thanks, Brad, for the dynamite drop in. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And obviously, Chris, we'll just jump into it because we even thought about doing a special episode about this. But obviously, it looks like it's on the forefront of a lot of minds, the different messages that I'm getting to here. But a lot of people, including Victor, thanks for turning in. Victor is a good supporter of ours too. Victor, we appreciate you. So the Victor wants to know, like everyone else, it looks like we have a lot of the same type of question. People want to know, what is your thoughts on Albert Pujols? Obviously, huge news. Nobody expected Albert to be designated for assignment, even a lot of the great baseball players out there. We didn't see it coming no matter how bad he got his last year. It hasn't happened to guys like Matt Carpenter. And Pujols has been better in his numbers this year while he's not the Albert of old, his numbers have not looked horrible, and he would be a serviceable player for a lot of different teams out there. But your overall thoughts on the whole Pujols situation and just how it was handled by the Angels? I'm sure we're going to get several questions kind of playing in this field, and we could probably fill the whole show with talking about Albert. But what are your initial thoughts on that situation?
Well, I'll do a cheap plug here. Earlier today, I was on a show, ESPN 107.3's Midmo Sports Show with JP Maxwell, and got asked that question. And really, Albert Pujols getting DFA'd by the Angels, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Now, granted, everybody's kind of wanting that homecoming. Ideally, I don't think there's a fit here for him. His reasoning for wanting to leave the Angels was he didn't want a lack of playing time. He was kind of getting pushed out with Walsh and Ohtani being the first base and designated hitter there. So his at-bats were going to be sporadic at best. There's other teams that were rumored to maybe have an interest. You got La Russa with the White Sox. He's kind of shut that down as, hey, we don't have a spot for him. Kansas City Royals, he could, he's a Kansas City native and maybe playing for Matheny might be a fit. I don't see the Cardinals having a fit necessarily for him, but it would be a very welcome addition. I think if the Cardinals could make that happen and give him somewhat of a farewell tour. I know that he doesn't want to be a bench bat. He's not going to play over Paul Goldschmidt, that's for sure. But if you could bring him back and him go out, with Molina and Wainwright and have Arenado there, who's been on record as saying that's his favorite player. And it's kind of like you've seen some of these interviews with Yachty and Arenado, kind of pitching I don't know, trying to recruit him to come over. And I don't know that that's going to happen, but I know it would make a lot of Cardinal fans happy. Some Cardinal fans obviously would complain saying, hey, we already have one bench guy that's batting 100. But I would joke that Pujols already has more home runs this season than Matt Carpenter has hits. So I would gladly take Albert Pujols on our team.
Yeah, it would be, pretty magical if we could find a way to pull that off. And this kind of goes back to the beginning of the year where I know we were hoping for it as well, that they were going to somehow find a way to work in the designated hitter for the National League. It would have been a whole lot easier, or maybe the word I'm looking for is more feasible, I guess, or doable if that were in play for the Cardinals. But since they don't have that, you're exactly right. What are you going to do with Goldschmidt? And, Albert's limited where he's going to play. Goldie doesn't really play another position. We do have some American League games coming up soon, but where the DH will be in play, but those are going to be, limited and few and far between. So, but I guess you could go out, sign a guy he's going to make the league minimum. No one's going to pick up that contract. So, you're going to sign him for, $500,000 roughly and put him on the team and see what you get. And I guess, he would be no different than having a Nagowski or someone on the team riding the bench, but it would be very cool to see him finish his career with the Cardinals. It would be a storybook ending. And, publicly, Chris, too, I mean, the players want it, right? We've seen Yachty's posts on social media like Instagram, and we've heard comments from guys like Arenado, personally addressing Albert through the media, like, you're my favorite player. I hope you get a chance to go out. A lot of people, like Pedro has spoken up, David Ortiz, a lot of these guys are pretty upset with the way it happened. And we know Mike Trout didn't take the news well. Him and Pujols had kind of, I guess blossomed this relationship over the years where it was like a mentor type situation. So it's pretty interesting. I think there are a couple teams out there that could definitely use his help for the remainder of the year. I definitely think Pujols is the kind of player that wants to go out on his own terms and definitely should. So I don't think he's just going to walk away and this is going to be the end of it. So it'd be nice maybe to see the Cardinals pick him up and, maybe sign him to a 1-year deal next year, where we know the DH will be in play with the new collective bargaining agreement coming up. That's one thing we know they're going to put in, and I don't see a lockout type situation happening, but that's my 2 cents on your show.
And you probably know better than I do about the deal that Pujols has with the Angels after his playing days were up. I've read contradicting articles on whether or not that is something that could be bought out as well. But with Pujols kind of having this falling out with the Angels, and granted his best years were with St. Louis, although he hit some of the milestones with the Angels, I think this move pretty well means Albert's going to be wearing a Cardinal cap when he enters Cooperstown.
Yeah, I think before he had kind of said that he would go in with no logo just out of respect. And I think when he negotiated that contract with the Angels, he had a lot of respect for Moreno, who was the owner of the Angels. And now I think that's kind of gone. But it's kind of a sad situation because he achieved a lot of milestones, as far as home runs and RBIs and hits with the Angels. But the majority of that work came prior with St. Louis. Obviously, he's not been the same player at all. And we didn't sign that contract, and it worked out well that we didn't. We didn't want that contract. But, if you can get a guy like Albert back, that's where his career has been. The city still loves him. We saw in 2019 when the Angels came to town. It was a big love fest for Albert. It would just be nice to see, and now you wouldn't have to pay that kind of money. And if you're going to have somebody like John Nogowski, who is now on a rehab assignment, be sitting on the bench for an occasional pinch hit, or even Matt Carpenter at this point, what's the difference with Albert? Would definitely help with, memorabilia, selling his jersey again. They'd be hanging him in the shop. So they could definitely make up that $500,000 easily, but it's going to keep your bench short. But, you have Albert spelling Goldschmidt in a rare occasion, pinch hitting, and then Carp can, back up Arenado and second base. And then you've got pretty good options from a left-handed pinch hitting option with Carp and then a right-hander for Albert.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine having two future Cardinal Hall of Famers riding the bench? That would just be kind of unheard of. But, as far as having a short bench, I mean, we don't see much out of Sosa. It's a shame Carpenter isn't a shortstop to where he could, plug into that role. But, Nogowski, when he was up, wasn't getting very many opportunities either. So, I mean, if there was a way to bring Pujols back, like you said, with merchandise sales, you're going to get that $500,000 back. And a lot of people filling the stadium as much as they can fill it. And, just kind of him be going out on the right way, or the right way that it would seem for us, Well,
and plus, I can't remember who I read it from, so I apologize. It might have been John Heyman or Ben Frederickson from the Post-Dispatch, but somebody said, can you imagine the team that does pick up Albert when he does get in there to play? He's going to be, Pujols has always been a man of motivation and proving critics wrong, and I think it's just going to give him that much more ambition to try to do some final damage on his way out. And just coming back to St. Louis and the fans, having his back 100%. I honestly think they could bring him back this year and he might not get another hit and the fans would still, go crazy for him every time he came up. And I feel like what he's done for the game of baseball and just an ambassador of baseball and for the city of St. Louis and his Pujols Foundation, I think it'd be well-deserved, because we're not saying give the guy the difference here before is, we've talked to everyone that's watching and is going to watch us later. We didn't, me personally, and I'm pretty sure you were the same way, Chris, we didn't think we should have re-signed Pujols when he went to the Angels for the money he got. And even Albert said himself, the Cardinals needed Yadier Molina more than they needed Albert Pujols. And, we wouldn't have been able to keep guys like Waino and Yadi finishing out their Cardinal careers here. We wouldn't have Goldschmidt now, and we wouldn't have made a lot of the moves that we made, later on to try to do what we've done and be competitor every year. And the Angels have only been to the playoffs one time, and the Royals disposed of them quickly. So you have to think, what is, our fans get upset now when we lose a game, let alone a series, let alone not going to the playoffs. So you definitely, there's a lot of, emotions in there, but you have to look at the business side. But now bringing the guy to a team for the rest of this year, maybe one more season if they bring the DH back and he wants to do a farewell tour, type of thing, then I could see where it would make financial sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of those things where when Pujols left, I mean, I'd be lying to say I wasn't angry, a little bitter. I didn't go out and burn my Pujols jersey or anything, but, it was hard to stomach seeing him leave, but understood that, hey, this is a business, and we benefited from him leaving because it did open up some payroll that we were able to keep Molina and Wainwright and others. And some of these fans too, they, bottom dollar, if somebody's going to offer you more money, you're probably going to take it too. I mean, I know there is loyalty to the game, but, we had Albert fairly cheap for his tenure here and what he had done, overpaying for him. yeah, it didn't pan out for the Angels. I don't think it would have panned out for us either. So, I mean, it made sense. Even though I might have been bitter at the time, I'm definitely not bitter with it anymore. Would love to have him back.
Yeah, good answer.
Thank
Proud of you. You've done a good job. Our good friend Russ Robinson wants to know, with Andrew Miller on the IL and Tyler Webb struggling, how are you feeling about the left side of the bullpen currently?
Well, I do like Genesis Cabrera as, the lefty in the pen, but that just leaves you with one.
I thought you were going to say we should go after Cecil, see if he was available.
Oh, man, the group would go absolutely nuts if we had Brett Cecil back. But no, Andrew Miller, when he was, not on the injured list, I don't think he was benefiting this team much. I don't think he's the same pitcher that he used to be. Yeah, he's definitely not one that can give you more than an inning. Pitching to the minimum 3 batters is all you're going to get out of him. And, if you're not really blowing people away, that's kind of a tough gig. And Tyler Webb, he's kind of had his roller coaster of moments. But even looking at the numbers, it might not kind of look like he's been out there as much as he has. But they've warmed him up, and he's had so many appearances that I'm just afraid they're going to put a lot of wear and tear on that arm. I do think it's nice to see guys like Liberatore and Zach Thompson down in Memphis doing well, but I don't want to see them get rushed up to fill a lefty need in the bullpen. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I mean, they can't just ride Cabrera into the ground because the other 2 are struggling or one's on the injured list. But I think Andrew Miller, really, it's obvious his best days are behind him, but when he rejoins the team, there'll be a real short leash on him and his outings if he's not getting it done.
Yeah, I'll say, one thing too that I would be on the lookout for. And if you guys don't know Russ Robinson, check him out. He puts out some good quality content. And I know Chris is a lot closer with him than I am, but he's from Redbird Rants, correct?
Yeah, really good writer, puts out good pieces, and we try to share all that stuff out on the page. He shares it here in the Cardinals Nation 24/7 group. We really appreciate all the hard work he puts into those articles, so definitely give him a read over there at Redbird Rants.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, this time too, people are always talking about trade deadline moves, and it was a good question that Russ brought up, and I like your answer too. It might be a little early to tell, but if struggles continue, I could definitely see, Mizalok making some type of bullpen type maneuver. He's been well known for those throughout the years of trying to pull something together by making a move, and our right hand is solid and we've got a lot of options to choose from that. So I could definitely see us maybe swapping an arm or 2 with someone who may be out of contention come trade deadline time, if that's still a weak spot for us. I think Miller's pretty well, out of the picture. Brad has another question, but it's a pretty good one. We haven't talked about it yet, but he says basically, our upcoming series with the Brewers could be a tough one. We've got, we're going to be facing Peralta. And he typed Woodford, but I know he meant Woodruff, but he's just thinking of our Woodford. Probably his phone's probably like mine, probably changed the name.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be Corbin Burns. How do you think the Cardinals are going to do coming up facing some?
Oh man, a team like the Brewers. I mean, we've said coming into the season that was going to be who would give the Cardinals the most fits in the National League Central. Their pitching is tough. We seem to struggle against tough pitching, but sometimes we beat the tough pitchers, and it's the no-name pitchers that we struggle against. So maybe we can put together some good at-bats against these guys. They've been without Christian Yelich. Colton Wong, he had his stint on the injured list too. They're kind of a team that they've got the pieces that can beat us, but it's nothing I'm going to lose sleep over looking at their lineup or their starting rotation. I mean, they're tough, but hey, you want to win, you're going to have to beat the tough teams too. You can't just roll over teams like Pittsburgh and Colorado. You're going to have to go out and win these games too.
Yeah, good thing is we have an off day today, which I think the Cardinals were in desperate need of. And the second part of that is the bats have been a little more locked in. So I feel like we're going in and we're kind of, piecing it together. If we'd been having a lot of trouble scoring runs, then I might be a little more concerned. But so far, I guess, I'm sure we'll talk to Brad like we do every single day. But ask me after tomorrow's game how I think we look. But Burns is going to be a tough one. They've got some good pitching and they're starting to get healthy. So
Yeah, I mean, this offense that we've got, I mean, it at times is a feast or famine offense, but, you're looking at Dylan Carlson, who's kind of coming into his own. Ever since they moved him up to that 2 spot, he's been, doing everything the team's asked of him. And you got Tommy Edmond, who's leading the league in hits, making us kind of be like Colton Long, who didn't really expect that much out of him. He's not hurting the team defensively at all. And with the bat, he's been a much-needed improvement, prototypical leadoff guy. I think we've got the bats that can beat up on these pitchers. It's just, got to put it together.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to see. Sorry. I have to go to 3. It's making me do this a little differently. So I have to go to I'm trying to maintain and make sure I don't miss anything. And it's making me go to 3 different places.
Working hard for your money tonight.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing I'm making big money.
Here you go.
I'm getting paid. So yeah, everyone, thanks for joining us and thanks for watching. We're doing Cardinal Cuts Live here with Chris Lollis. Chris has his own show. We do this once a month on the live video for our Cardinals Nation 24/7 group and page members. But Chris does this show pretty regularly on audio. Chris, do you want to kind of tell them about the show and where you do it from? But in the meantime, when Chris gives you an update, if you guys have questions for us now, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them for you. Go ahead, Chris. Tell them about where they can find your work.
Like you said, we do this once a month. It's Facebook Live. It's a Q&A to kind of interact and engage with our Cardinals Nation 24/7 group members. Do this weekly on audio. I've kind of had a little bit of a hiatus the last week or so where I haven't had a show out, but you can find that on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Radio Public, Anchor, and anywhere else that you can find a podcast, Spotify. It's an audio only, but it's just a Q&A where I'll usually put a post up in the group and have random fans just ask random Cardinal questions. And I do my best to give all my expertise, at answering them, but it's just a fun way to engage and have some interaction with group members. And
sure. Yeah, I enjoy it. I like listening to it. I enjoy the background music. I enjoy your voice is very soothing. I enjoy very much so.
That banjo music, boy.
The banjo music is what brings them in.
Yeah, yeah. And then they don't have to look at this ratty old beard during either. They can just hear the soothing voice and not see the rat nest of a beard. So it's all good.
You just put your pictures the episode. Just a new picture of you every week.
Oh, yeah.
Differently.
Yeah, I'm sure that'd drive them in.
Let's see.
But I'll go ahead and plug. You've got a side project you do as well, and it's Redbirds with Red Wine that you kind of do a deep dive on the minor leagues with the Cardinals. And, now that minor league baseball is back, I'm sure you'll be back in the saddle, putting out some content there. And again,
record tomorrow.
That's
now
awesome.
We've got a week in the books. Yeah. I've been excited about it. I've been checking in on it regularly. I'm excited about some of these guys, like Liberatore and Thompson and those guys getting. Tommy Parsons didn't do as well on his debut, but it's kind of fun to see some of these guys and go over who's going to be, potentially coming up in the near future. And, that might force the front office's hand at getting an earlier shot than we're expected. If they're performing in AAA and they're lights out, they don't have much of a choice. It's not like last year and earlier this year to where, they're at an alternate campsite. We don't really know what's going on with them as far as competitive baseball. Now it kind of brings their talent to the forefront if they're doing well and might force an early decision.
Yeah, and not to spoil anything you might cover, but it was nice to see Nolan Gorman hit his first AA home run for Springfield. And again, I didn't get to catch the games, but I did see some clips of Liberatore and Thompson looking good with some of their strikeout stuff. And our number one prospect draftee, I believe, hit a home run his first professional at bat, first pitch thrown. So that was kind of neat to see also.
Yeah, Jordan Walker, he's going to be a stud coming up soon. He's very, very young guy. He's not projected to be in the major leagues till 2024, but he looks pretty sharp. So it's always good, just these young, exciting players coming up. And I think Cardinal Nation, we're an educated group already, but it helps know that there's a lot of more outlets out there so people can be aware of who's in the minor leagues. As you know, back in even the mid 90s to early 80s, you only heard about the real good guys. You didn't really know what was going on. So it's definitely nice to have that outlet. And in case you guys weren't aware, the MLB did put out its new top 30 prospects ranking list for the Cardinals. And obviously Dylan Carlson held the number one spot prior, but he's no longer on that list. Liberatore has taken the top spot. Nolan Gorman is at 2. Catcher Ivan Herrera is number 3, and Zach Thompson is number 4. So, and Mason Wynn is number 5, who is a pitcher and a position player too. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out if he actually holds up at shortstop or becomes a full-time pitcher. I'm sure they'll probably make him, choose at some point on what he wants to do, and they'll probably figure that out after they see him in some more game action. We saw Nolan Arenado playing his former team, the Rockies, and he did pretty well. You think there was a little extra motivation on his part to come out and do well against his former team?
Oh, for sure. And I know, listen to his post-game interview, they ask, that question, as well as, was it weird, playing against your former team? And of course, he gave a pros pro type of answer and saying that, he's got a lot of good friends over there. Trevor Story's like a brother to him. Obviously, he's got a cousin playing for the Rockies. None of the ill will of why he left was anything to do with the players. It was all, between the ownership and GM. But looking over, I'm sure that is weird, playing against guys that you've played 8 years with and you are the face of that franchise. That's got to kind of be a weird feeling. But again, he said once he kind of got that out of the way, he looked down, saw the birds on the bat on his chest, and it's like, hey, this is the team I'm playing for now. The ultimate job is to win a game. So I'm sure he had some mixed emotions, but I'm sure it felt good hitting a home run and, Cardinals taking that series.
Yeah, just the way he talks and carries himself, he acts like he's been a Cardinal for years and years. Also have a question from Bill Salzman. He wants to know, are you concerned with Paul Goldschmidt and striking out on fastballs? It seems like more and more this year he's been prone to striking out on a fastball, and you normally start to see that on like sliders away or cutters or some kind of breaking ball, but he seems to have trouble with the fastball, and it's not even been crazy location. I've noticed it too, so it was a good question by Bill. But are you concerned, Chris, with Goldie being a little more prone to strike out this season on fastballs especially?
Right. It's been, a little weird seeing him strike out. He's definitely a contact hitter that will at least put the ball in play, but he has looked at times lost at the plate, like he's guessing more than seeing the ball. He's still putting up some decent numbers. I mean, I don't think he's hurting the team at all, but it has been kind of weird seeing him strike out at a higher clip than normal. It's just, and especially on that fastball. I mean, that's usually where he's dominant, driving it out. But so that's been a little different to see, but I'm not overly concerned. I think guys like him and Arenado, they are a rare breed of, they've got that baseball mindset, and if he's not seeing the ball great right now, I don't think that's going to last. I think he'll get that back, and he's not going to fall off.
Yeah, I think the good thing about that too is this year we've got guys performing. Dylan Carlson's hitting over 300 now. He's at 303 on the season as of today's off day. We'll see Tommy Edmonds at 289, Arenado's at 281. So when you have guys performing, and obviously we know Yachty is obviously carrying the bat very well. So when you guys have other guys performing like that, the spotlight has not been on Goldie as much. Probably, let's see, he's hitting 246, which isn't too bad. He had a good day yesterday. And maybe the off day today, it could be one of two things. It could either be the off day is good, so he can get a little rest, or he would just get locked in, and now he's off today. So I think he'll turn it around. He's definitely heats up as the weather does. So I definitely think it'll be something to keep an eye on. But I was a little concerned myself too, seeing him striking out a lot of fastball pitches, especially with guys on base. Usually don't see that, like you said, with Goldie. Usually those are one he puts over the fence. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And he's getting older. I think giving him a day or two off here and there, especially in these long stretches of games, wouldn't probably be a bad idea.
Speaking of balls going over the fence, that shot that Jack Flaherty had off of Austin Gomber was a moonshot. That was something definitely love to see Wainwright's reaction seeing Flaherty hit the piss out of that ball. But to have his first major league home run come off of a friend, former teammate, and it to be a long ball, that was pretty exciting to see.
It's always nice to see. That's the fun part, right? We want the DH because we want more offense. We want to see exciting. But whenever you have guys like Jack or Waino that can do something like that on a rare occasion, it does make for a good, fun baseball moment, something unexpected.
Yeah, and I did see, the Bally Sports Network had put up a stat, of in the last 20 years where the Cardinals pitchers rank, as far as hits. And, I think they were number one in every category and third in another category. It is a style of baseball that we're all used to in the National League. I've always been old school and like that and prefer that. But I do think going forward, it makes all the sense in the world not to have pitchers hit. Even the playing field with the American League, and most of these young guys aren't that are pitchers. They aren't hitting in the minors or in college anymore. So I think the days of pitchers hitting, I think that's going to be wrapped up this season.
Yeah, it's going to be coming to a close after the new CBA, the new collective bargaining agreement. They're going to want to add 15 more full-time positions for some of these guys to help prolong careers and help the National League extend some of those bigger contracts like we see being given out in the American League every single day. So also, to lead us off going into this off day, we've got Arenado's leading the club in RBIs at 23. That's a pretty good number early in the season. Did you expect Arenado to come in and be as hot as he has as far as, production-wise on the offensive end? He's made a few defensive errors, than I wasn't expecting, but definitely he's carrying the load on the offensive side.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you get guys like him and a Goldschmidt, I mean, they are pros. I mean, you expect good things out of them. So I didn't think that his numbers in Colorado were going to be, the telltale sign that he wouldn't come over and produce. I'm pleasantly surprised that his numbers have been as good as they have been. But I wasn't as worried as some fans about, hey, all these numbers are inflated because he's a Rocky. He's going to come here and it's not going to be the same. I didn't have those concerns. And as far as with the glove, I mean, he's made already, a few plays that I'm sure are going to be on the highlight reel for the 2021 season. Covers a lot of ground, and he just like you said, he speaks like he's been a Cardinal for a long time, but he also just looks like a Cardinal. Just seeing him in that uniform looks like that's the uniform he was meant to be wearing.
Yeah. What about, we've had a lot of guys change in the OPS category currently, where that's being led by Arenado as well. So, this early in the season, it could an uptick in production or a good series can make the whole entire standings change as we move through the season. But also another one that stood out to me was on base percentage. Dylan Carlson is at 380 currently. So what are your thoughts on Dylan? Just me asking you this question, me to you. Dylan is, we all expected him to be a top prospect and perform well this year, but especially since he moved to that 2-hole, he's kind of come into his own.
Yeah, I mean, we talked that we both wanted to see him move up to that spot just to, to get better pitches to hit than maybe at the bottom of the lineup. And the only negative was maybe having two switch hitters back to back where you might want to spread those guys apart. But the 1-2 punch right now that is Edman getting on base, at a high clip too. And like I said, leading the lead in hits, you've got him batting in front of Carlson. I think that's, giving him a lot of opportunity. And then you've got Goldschmidt and Arenado right behind him that it just seems like a perfect fit. We were a little worried that might drop off the bottom half of the order where we're going to be running into some clusters of outs, in the second part of the lineup. But when you've got guys like on any given night, Tyler O'Neill might be hot and he's got power. Bader's been taking some decent at bats. Yachty is obviously, surprised us all. I don't think we don't really have that glaring hole. I mean, there's Paul DeYoung with his batting averages, not really something that we're that fond of, but leading the league in home runs, he's a threat too. It's just putting it all together. But yeah, Carlson batting in that 2 spot, I think, is right where he needs to be.
Yeah. I agree. He's getting, Edmund has done a fantastic job, and then you've got Goldschmidt and Arenado behind him. He's definitely getting some good pitches to look at. Being farther down in the order, but Williams wasn't really helping him any. I think he's kind of guy. Let him get some good pitches to hit and get some production going, and let him get comfortable in his role, and then it's just going to take more pressure off everybody else. Corey King wants to know, how would you rank the Cardinals' current record at this current point? Are they better than you expected, or worse, or right about where you thought they'd be?
They're about right where I thought they'd be. I mean, there was some doubt early on when, we were struggling, and, you look at the standings, and even though it was early, we were kind of neck and neck with Pittsburgh, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is not what it's supposed to be. But you got to look at it like it is a marathon, not a sprint. It does take these guys some time to gel and, get clicking on all cylinders. So I didn't expect them to come out of the gate and be, undefeated by any means. But for us to already have the most amount of wins in the National League and one of the top 3 winning teams in all of baseball, I don't know anybody that could be dissatisfied with what's going on, especially given, the injury bug that we've had to deal with and, some of the missing pieces. But no, I'm probably right about where I expected them to be and not in the least disappointed.
Yeah, that's a good point too. But we have another question, so I'm going to keep us moving here. Tim Shivananda wants to know, who do you think will be the next big prospect or player that the Cardinals call up, and why?
Well, I think guys like a Nolan Gorman are a couple years away. I don't think they're going to be the next impact player. While I do think that the starting rotation right now is shaky at times, with Gant, I think Michaelis comes in and takes his spot. Prospect-wise, you do have Liberatore down in the minors with Zach Thompson, and they are supposed to be the next big things as far as pitching goes. I would hate to see either of them come up and just take a bullpen spot, or we already have so many relievers that are starters turned into relievers. But of the two, I think Zach Thompson actually gets my nod ahead of Liberatore on who comes up and probably wows Cardinal fans, because everybody knows Liberatore's name because that's the guy we got in the Rosarena trade. So they kind of already expect big things out of him. But Zach Thompson's got some filthy stuff if anyone's seen him pitch. And I think that may be the guy that turns out to be a solid, more than solid pitcher for the Cardinals in the future.
Yeah, I was going to go take a look at that too. Another thing too that's limiting the Cardinals, also everyone, is the space that they have available on the 40-man roster. It's full at this point, so they would have to make some kind of corresponding move in order to add someone to call up with some of the questionable call-ups they have had here recently with guys like Hurst. Kind of makes you wonder what they're thinking. But it was kind of nice to see Lane Thomas get another chance kind of in short order to get back on the big league team. I know we haven't seen much from him yet, but he did draw a walk. But, he came up and obviously didn't look too well in the field, is one thing he's known for, or with the bat. But when he got sent down, we thought we might not see him again for a while. But he's kind of been back up in short order. So it's kind of nice to see Thomas, at least get a second look here real quick.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think, coming into the season, we thought he would be in the mix, definitely above Austin Dean and Justin Williams on getting playing time, and they've seemed to ride Williams quite a bit. And at times, Williams does look like he belongs. Other times, he looks completely lost, but he's made some decent plays in the field, and I think they more or less feel like they may owe it to Williams because he was kind of out of options, and then that last option kind of appeared where, hey, we can option. Let's at least give him as many plate appearances as we can. But it's nice to see Lane Thomas come up and at least contribute and maybe make a case to be staying up with this team.
Let's see here. Also, Chris, if you want, sorry, I'm working the computer over here at the same time, everybody, so sorry if there's a little delay. you want to fill everyone in on the YouTube channel, let everybody know how that's going.
Yeah, and we started the channel in December, but we didn't put out an episode till early February. You can find it on YouTube. It's Cardinals Nation 24/7. It's the YouTube channel, but it's our podcast channel. It's a weekly show that myself and Jared and Larry Cox put out each week. We go over the week that was in Cardinal baseball. We've into episode 14 now. We've had some bonus content as well, but we're almost to 750 subscribers, which in that short period of time is a great number. And we're kind of mind blown at the amount of feedback and positivity that fans have left, nice comments saying they enjoy the content. We've done some giveaway prizes in the past. I'm sure as the season goes, we'll be doing some of those again, but it's nice to talk Cardinal baseball with you and Larry, and for us to make this the official podcast of the Facebook group, where we want fans to be engaged and interact and give us ideas and, some of their hot topics that they post about. We cover that stuff in the show as well. So it's just a nice way of, being the official podcast. I mean, it's nice. And again, we've asked people that if they haven't already, go over and check it out, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and share the stuff out with us. We share it out when it comes done with the editing that Jared does. He does a great job editing the shows. We put that out, and if you like what you see, share that out on your personal Facebook page, or anywhere that you can share it out, because that helps us get more viewers, more listeners on the product. And while it isn't a popularity contest, we do want to grow this thing and get as many eyes and ears on it as possible. So we encourage everybody to not just check it out, but help us spread the word by sharing this stuff out.
Yeah, it's done great. It's taken off really well. We've been doing episodes every week, and we do 2 separate live shows a month. We do this one here for our Facebook people, then we do a YouTube live show, which is a conversation with the nation, is what we've been calling it, where we have, different people come in from different media outlets or resources, and we kind of just bounce questions around roundtable style to get other people's inputs and opinions. So if you have any input on anything that you see or want to see from us more, be sure to let us know. We do this Facebook live thing, which really seems to take off well. A lot of people we know can't, watch it live. And those of you who are there, we appreciate it. But after we post it, later on too, and put it on YouTube, it usually takes off quite a bit. We have a few different videos where we're, over 1,000 or very close. So we appreciate all the support. And I think every single video we've put out at least, has a couple hundred views in a week's time. So it's been, great support from everybody. So we really appreciate it. We do it because we enjoy it. But, the main reason we put it on YouTube, a lot of people have even brought up being like, oh, you guys, is this like a full-time job thing? No, it's not. It's not even close. We're just trying to do it on YouTube and get to a certain point, because it does obviously cost us to a certain degree, not much, but we just want to be able to make it self-sustainable, so we're not paying out of pocket, and we're enjoying doing what our passion is, and that's Cardinals baseball. And hopefully everyone that subscribes and likes it, is feeling the vibe and sticks with us. So we appreciate everyone's been loyal and subscribed and shared it. It means a lot to us. I know it means a lot to Chris. Chris spends a lot of time trying to get the word out. He's probably harassed several of you.
I'm sure. And, we do post frequently, not just sharing the episodes, but encouraging people to find the YouTube channel. And sometimes that may come across a bit much, but, again, people aren't just going to stumble across something. It takes word of mouth. And so sometimes it might seem like overkill if we're like, hey, check us out, subscribe. But, we do that because we're not trying to be rich and famous from it, but we generally enjoy being your official podcast, and to have these relationships with you guys where we can spitball ideas and discuss and debate Cardinal baseball. Man, that's what it's all about. And like Jared said, we can get monetized to a certain point, but it's not money that we're going to be pocketing. It's stuff to cover production cost, and the giveaway prizes that will be given out, and things that we want to give back to you and put out the best content that we can. So again, it's not us looking to get rich quick by any means. It's just a way of covering the cost of production.
Yeah, I have a question here from Rick W. Rick wants to know your early thoughts on Johan Oviedo and his couple of starts that he got, and do you think we've seen the last of him in the rotation for the season?
Well, his last start wasn't the best start. I know I picked him up on fantasy thinking, hell, I'll get,
I had him for the first game and I dropped him, and then you picked him up when
yeah.
he came back around.
I thought I'll pull a Jarrett here and, get my money's worth out of him. But no, he still looked like he had, some good stuff. I think what hurt him this last time was he was pitching to Ali Sanchez, and no knock on Sanchez, but when you've got an inexperienced major league catcher and you've got Oviedo that maybe doesn't have the repertoire with him, I think, that might have had something to do with it. He does have filthy stuff, and I do think he's going to have a bright future with the Cardinals. If they don't have him as a spot starter, I believe he could even fit in a bullpen role and be kind of like your Genesis Cabrera, give you multiple innings. And, his presence on the mound, he's a big, tall, lanky guy. I would like to see him be a mainstay on this team. So his first couple outings were definitely better than his last, but I think it's a pitcher that's going to stick with the Cardinals for quite a while.
Yes, sir. Have another question. Caden wants to know, Wainwright pitched to Jim yesterday. If Wainwright and Yachty keep up the performance, do you think this is going to be their last year, regardless if they win the series or not?
Oh, man. If they win the World Series, I think of the two, Wainwright would be the first to hang him up. I just don't think it would get any sweeter for him going forward. I think for Molina, the numbers that he's chasing, he's already in our eyes the GOAT, as far as the best catcher of all time. But, there are still those baseball analysts out there that swear that he isn't going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer, but not first ballot. So I think Molina still has that chip on his shoulder of, even if the Cardinals won a World Series, I don't know that he would be eager to hang the cleats up. Ideally, it'd be nice to see both of them go out together. It would be more ideal to see them go out after a World Series championship. But yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on what happens this year. I mean, if the Cardinals come close, I could see both of them wanting another 1-year deal. And, even taking a little bit more of a discount. I know there's going to be some money coming off the books with Carpenter and a few other players that, maybe Mozeliak and DeWitt bring somebody in. But, those two guys are mainstays. If they want to play another year, bring them back.
Yeah, especially if their production continues. I mean, Wainwright's been a victim of a little bit of bad luck. He's had a couple of great games that he pitched where he didn't get a win, and I think one game was even a loss, and he didn't allow, any runs through 9 and struck out several. It's amazing to me to see him, getting the level of strikeouts that he's gotten. And, this is not a guy that's up there throwing 100 miles an hour. It's a perfect example of not to try to sound like I'm being a coach, because I'm not, but perfect example for, young fans or people that are still playing that, it's not just about throwing 105 miles an hour. It's about, locating your pitches, mixing your pitches, and, having more than one or two in your arsenal. And he's keeping them off balance. When he's throwing that big sweeping curveball in the 70 mile an hour range, and you're throwing a low 90s fastball at 91 miles an hour, that's a huge change for a lot of those guys. But it's just, just goes to show you that you don't have to be, young and throwing 105 miles an hour to be an effective pitcher.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, too, that, when it comes to Yachty and Molina, it is absolutely more than just the numbers. The presence that these guys bring in the clubhouse where they're mentoring, Wainwright's mentoring Flaherty and, the other young arms. You see it during spring training. You see it during games where Flaherty hits that home run, and it's like proud dad over there, Wainwright, cheering him on. And, Molina getting the most out of some of these, guys. It's their presence means a lot, a lot more than stats at times, but their stats are not hurting this team. And then you look at the off the field stuff. Wainwright was on the COVID list because his wife had it and his kids, and he's talking in post game about going home and taking care of family. And you just don't have classy ball players that are as talented, as well loved and respected in the clubhouse and by fans. We are blessed to have both Wainwright and Molina.
Yeah, it's amazing. No other ball club has had players that have been with the team that long. Maybe the only person that comes to mind recently would maybe be Buster Posey. I don't know how long he's been with the Giants, or Ryan Zimmerman with the Nationals, who's been there since they moved the team to Washington. But It's not something that you see anymore, and I don't think you're going to see it again too often with the way contracts and baseball is today. So to have Wayne and Yachty going out together, and then circling back to Pujols, Pujols has said that it'd be great to go out on top with Yachty, which is why I was thinking if they find, I'm not saying they are, if they found a way to bring Albert back, I would be happy with that. But if not, I'm not going to be surprised. I know a lot of people definitely have their hopes up, hoping it happens, but them going out, the two or the three of them all going out together would be something that's pretty special. So.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, that's one thing, and it might be wishful thinking, but, not to get other fans' hopes up, but just seeing the reaction the Cardinals fans had when Pujols returned to Busch playing for the Angels and the ovation that he got, I can't imagine seeing the birds on the bat back on his chest, him digging into the batter's box. I mean, that's goosebumps right there, and if you're only getting that, when we're playing American League teams and there's a DH and you're getting that, sporadically with some pinch hit situations, I'd take it all day, every day.
Yeah. I agree with you, sir. Dynamite drop in.
Nice.
Yeah. Pardon me. Oh, our next roundtable I wanted to check is currently scheduled for next Monday, the 17th. So, and if you guys are interested in tuning in for that, we'll be broadcasting it live on our YouTube channel. We'll still record it and upload it later, so you can catch it. We'll share it to Facebook after. But if you're curious in joining that live and being part of the discussion, we would love to have you. That's going to be at 7 Central, probably.
Correct? Yeah. That sounds about right.
On May the 17th, so next Monday. We're trying to put these things together where the Cardinals have an off day. So, if you're a huge fan and wanting to get your Cardinals baseball, then join us then. Our next Cardinal Cuts live on Facebook with Chris Lollis will be on June the 7th. That is also a Monday.
Sounds good.
For autographs, Chris, give everyone your address.
No, I'm not giving nobody my address there.
Give them your address, Chris.
No. What's Larry's address? I'll give him that. Terre Haute, Indiana. Look me up. My name's Larry Cox. Yeah. I sell insurance.
American Senior Benefits.
Yep. Yeah, you can find me there.
Well, I don't have any other questions. So, do you want to say anything in closing? We can start to wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up just by, thanking everybody in the Facebook group. And that's, primarily where we targeted this show. We're getting close to 40,000 members here. We've had the Facebook group for about a handful of years now, and some have been with us, from the beginning, and they don't always like that it grows, as big as it has, because with growth, you do hear more complaining. But at times I tell them, hey, if you want to drown out the negative, post more positive. So we do enjoy that more and more people are checking us out, and that we are the largest Cardinals Facebook fan group out there. The Facebook page, which is different than the Cardinals Nation 24/7 Facebook group, that's growing also. We're at 65,000 followers, which is, unreal. I would never would have thought that. But basically the difference between the two, in case people don't know, is on the page, myself, Jared, and Larry, we post content that we find from, whether it's Arch City Media or the Post-Dispatch or, Bally Sports Midwest, post-game interviews. We're actually posting content that is all Cardinals related. It's from legit sources and sites. The Facebook group is more the fan forum, where people can vent their frustrations and criticisms, as well as cheer on the team, show their game day photos and such. So they are two separate entities, but under the same umbrella. As far as the Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast, again, we started that with our first episode in February, already at close to 750 subscribers. Weekly show that we encourage everybody to go check out. That's our flagship show. It's what we're most proud of and have the most fun doing. You can find us, either on the page, the group, or on the YouTube channel. We're also on Twitter and Instagram, but anywhere you can find us, you can find our podcast when that comes out. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Yes, we sure do. I do have another question, just came in, and I'm surprised it took this long to get it. But from Anthony Arnold, Anthony wants to know, how much longer do you see Matt Carpenter staying on the Cardinals roster?
Wow, how did we get to a show with that not being asked?
I know we almost ended it.
That's
You're welcome,
crazy.
though. Thank you, Anthony. We appreciate that. Something we don't hear. So go ahead.
Yeah, never, and we never discuss it. The Matt Carpenter experiment. As much as he's meant to the team and done for the team in the past, I think he's earned that right to get every last opportunity. And by last opportunity, I mean he's had this 2.5-year slump. He was struggling in spring training, and he had the month of April. Now with Bader and O'Neill back, that pretty well limits Edman to being your everyday second baseman, where Edman's not getting slotted out there. Carpenter is relegated just to being a bench bat. I don't think at this point you cut the guy, but he's not going to get the playing time that he was earlier in the month of April. And I think that was Schilt's way of, hey, we've got to see if he can snap out of it. Mazalek's come out and basically said too that, as much as we wanted to see different, results from Carpenter, if we don't see them, the playing time is going to be limited. It has been. But if you've got somebody on the team that even in his limited at bats is not contributing, I think this goes on maybe till the All-Star break at most. And that's if he's doing what he's doing now, was, the occasional bunt hit, the abundance of strikeouts and hitting into the shift. If that's your threat off the bench, I can't see him really justifying having him on the team after the All-Star break.
Yeah, so, another thing of that, that's funny, flip side of that is, the Angels released Pujols, but the Cardinals still have Carpenter, who's been, underperforming, even worse so than Albert. Albert at least does have 5 home runs and is hitting 200.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, again, us saying it, and it's the same with some of the group members that comment here, just because we point out Matt Carpenter's lack of production is not Matt Carpenter hate. We have nothing but respect for the guy, but when you're getting paid $18 million and you're laying down a bunt and striking out, at a high clip, hurting the team, it is a business. And, you can appreciate what the guy's done, but
Chris, he hits the ball hard.
Yeah, that exit velocity don't mean shit when it goes right into a fielder's glove. I've said that too. Drives me nuts, some of the analytics that go on, but he's hitting the ball hard. And I joke with, if we hit the ball harder than
it's like playing the lottery, right? I say, I only missed it by one number. I was almost a billionaire, guys.
Right. If you hit the ball hard 100 times and you're getting out 100 times, your exit velo and all that launch angle don't mean shit.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's kind of like saying, nobody cares if you do well the whole year and you don't win the final game. What does it matter?
Right.
It's all about production, and a lot of other people have a lot of hard hit balls and have some good exit velocity and the shift and all that stuff. The shift has hurt a lot of players, and they've talked about changing the shift, but it's also, if you look at Albert's numbers, since the shift has been put into play a lot more, his numbers have dropped drastically. They're actually better this year than they have been the last several years hitting against the shift in the small sample size for the short season we've already had. But, production is key. It's just like you can be at your job for 10 years and work hard every year, but then, the last, if you're having, three crappy years, your employer's not going to be hanging on to you, and you're not going to be making millions like these guys. So I think it's going to be short, but the good thing about it is also on the flip side is he's come up and he's performed in short instances where he's needed to. He's had a couple of 3-run home runs over back-to-back that just won a couple of close ball games, and I do hope that things quiet things down, or it puts a Band-Aid on it temporarily, I think. And the less we see of him, the less we can judge his play, and we have not seen too much. We haven't seen very much of Carp here recently, especially with O'Neill being back, and now that Bader's back. And Bader looks pretty good in the shortcoming. He's been hitting for some power, and as long as we have guys like Edman and Carlson and Goldie and Arenado and Yachty getting on base, you can live with guys like Bader, because Bader is an excellent defensive player. He does a lot of things right. He's never been known as a hitter, and a guy that can get on base. But if everybody else is, that's not really amplified as much. So we've talked about that before too. We can't have half a team of guys hitting at 200. And DeYoung has a weak batting average, but he's been doing a lot of other things. He's been getting on base. He's been walking more. He's been performing and producing when he needs to. He's been hitting home runs and at least driving in runs. So, if you have someone that's hitting 200, that's, making it happen when it counts, that's important. At least he's actually doing things. He's not just hitting the ball hard and getting out.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Schild hasn't utilized the bench more than he has, because you've got Edmundo Sosa over there that doesn't get any playing time. Nagowski before the injury really wasn't, getting much playing time, and hated to see it, the injury that he got, but it was like they wanted his bat to go cold. He comes out spring training on fire and couldn't get more than a pinch hit every 5 or 6 days, it seemed like. Carpenter, I think that's kind of where he's at right now, but it's kind of shocking. You don't really see much, outside of the occasional fourth outfielder getting a pinch hit here and there. Schultz not going to his bench.
Yeah.
That would change if we had Albert Pujols.
That would change.
Maybe.
We'd be in first place.
We are in first place.
I know. I was just saying our numbers probably wouldn't change much.
No.
But thanks to everyone that joined us. You're going to catch this. We'll upload it later. It'll be on our YouTube channel. It'll be here on Facebook as well. Join us, please, next Monday for Conversation with the Nation. We'll have a roundtable discussion. If you have any questions you'd like to see us answer, please submit them to us. We'll be glad to answer them for you then. I'm sure things will change between now and then in the series coming up with the Brewers over the weekend. We'll be recording our normal podcast tomorrow evening. That'll be out by Thursday. So a lot of activity, and we have a lot of content for you guys. We don't expect you to watch it all, but for those who do, we appreciate it. If not, if you just want to stop in and check it out from time to time, we appreciate that also. Chris, do you have anything you want to say in closing here? I guess we'll try to close out again.
For those that do tune in to the podcast, which we greatly appreciate, and it's nice if you catch, usually we're about an hour long is about how long we keep it. Sometimes we go a little further than that. If you tune in and you watch to the end, our outtakes that Jared puts in the editing videos are well worth the wait. So if you get a little bored there at the end and you're like, I'm going to shut these guys off, fast forward to the end, watch the last few minutes. You'll get a chuckle. It'll be well worth it. Guarantee you'll be back watching the next episode.
Yeah, we try to have a little fun. It's kind of tough to decide when to throw it out in a pod, because some people that are here for a podcast only want to get to the nuts and bolts in here, but then we try to throw out something to be a little fun, just to make it different, I guess. And to show we have more personalities, and it seems like we do, at least a little bit of one. So, yeah, myself and Larry and Chris, we have a lot of fun, so we appreciate everyone that joins us here. And then check out the audio podcast, Redbirds with Red Wine and Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lollis. We do this once a month live here. Cardinal Cuts, but he does it roughly 3 other times a month, just in the audio version. You can find those on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you can go to listen to one, you can find us there. Even the Cardinal Station 24/7. If you're not a video person, YouTube is the best one for us. We prefer that, but if not, if you're an audio person, then check it out there as well.
Yeah. It was nice talking to everybody. I appreciate everybody's questions from the group members. Again, this is a way to interact and engage with you guys. This is this show, as well as our flagship show. It's your show. It's by fans for fans. So we appreciate everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and go Cards.
Go Cards.